We sold our souls for rock and roll. Black Sabbath, 1975. No rock album in the history of rock albums has had more of an effect on my life than that one. Not necessarily for the music, nor the lyrics contained within, but the title. How, you ask? Well, this may take a while, as I'm big on details, so please bear with me. I hope I don't bore you too much. Now, first off, let me introduce myself. My name is Mikey Z. That's not my real name, though. No one really cares what my real name is. Anyway, I'm the lead guitar. Well, I was the lead guitarist for the rock group, Blackened Image. Maybe you've heard of us. No? Okay, then. Moving on. I say was because there's no more Blackened Image. We're all dead, except me. Now, in order to answer your question, I have to go back in time. Back to a time of youth, a time of innocence, a time of starry eyes and wild dreams. In the time, I fucked up. The year was 1986. I was a senior in high school. Hair metal ruled the wear. The year was 1986. I was a senior in high school. Hair metal ruled the airwaves and re-economics was in full effect. Wait, I gotta go back even further. Now, I've always been into music. Well, as far back as I can remember, that is. I still remember sitting on the living room floor, about 7, maybe 8 years old, playing with my Legos, listening to artists such as Roy Orbison, the Statler Brothers, and Marty Robbins, just to name a few, on a record player. I still remember sitting on the living room floor, about 7, maybe 8 years old, playing with my Legos, listening to artists such as Roy Orbison, the Statler Brothers, and Marty Robbins, just to name a few, on a record player, while my parents relaxed on the couch. What's a record player, you ask? You know that thing people listen to music on before cassette tapes? What's a cassette tape? Never mind. I don't have time to explain it. Anyways, I always liked the way that the drums, the bass, and the guitars all worked together in a rhythm. I didn't understand a lot of the lyrics back then, being so young and all. I mean, I understood what they were saying, not necessarily what they meant, until I got older. I did notice that most of my songs seemed to rhyme. I thought to myself, hey, I could do that. Cat, hat, ish, dish. This is easy. I was hooked. I started making up a little rhymes and singing them around the house. It drove my parents crazy. And from that point on, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. Write songs. Now as I grew older, my taste in music began to expand. I listened to everything. If I liked it, I listened to it. Everything from 50s doo-wop to 60s psychedelics, 70s disco to 80s pop, old country to new country, and everything in between. That was until I discovered heavy metal. Stuff was loud, fast, and in your face, full of attitude and emotion. It was perfect for an awkward teenager like me. It was a hot summer day in 1983. I was about to turn 15. My parents had planned a trip to go visit an old family friend and his family. Played baseball with his son, Ricky, in the late 70s, who were on the same team. But you don't really care about that. Anyway, by this time, I had learned how to actually write lyrics for a song. I had written a few actually. I wrote a lot. I kept them all in several black and white composition books and carried one with me everywhere I went. I had written a few actually. I wrote a lot. I kept them all in several black and white composition books and carried one with me wherever I went. We arrived at Ricky's parents' house. My parents said their hellos to his parents while I went to hang out with Ricky in his bedroom. After talking for a while, he went to his closet and pulled out his guitar. A snakeskin 6-string PV. A snakeskin 6-string PV. I didn't even know he played guitar. Plugged it into his amp and belted out the opening riff to Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train. I didn't know what it was at the time. He told me after he finished. I was completely blown away. I never heard anything like that before. He told me it was a new style of music called heavy metal. That's awesome, I said. I then told him that I write song lyrics. He said, cool. And I showed him the ones in my book. He read through them, found one he liked, The Blackest Dark of Dawn, and we sat there all afternoon arranging that song. I sang well, tried to sing the lyrics. Sounded like a dying cat as he put it to music on guitar. Okay, I thought to myself, that's it. I'm gonna learn how to play guitar too. On my way home, I asked my dad for a guitar for my 15th birthday and the Ozzy Osbourne album Blizzard of Oz. By now, records had become obsolete and music was only available on cassette tapes. Anyway, I got them both. My parents have always been cool like that. I played that album over and over again. It's like a drug. I became a full-fledged metalhead and started listening to and buying almost any album under the label heavy metal or hard rock. Kiss, Motley Crue, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, WASP, Twisted Sister, everything. I soon discovered that Ozzy Osbourne once sang in a band called Black Sabbath, so I bought all their stuff too. It had a totally different sound, but it still rocked. My tape collection was enormous. I still remember the day that I found the album that changed my life forever. It was in a marked-down bin at Walmart. We sold out souls for rock and roll. It's a compilation album full of songs I already had on the original albums, but I liked the title. So I bought it. I liked it so much that I wrote these words. I liked it so much that I wrote those words in black Sharpie on the back of one of my jean jackets and wore it everywhere I went. Now, as for the guitar, we'll come to find out I have very poor hand-eye coordination. Now, as for the guitar, we'll come to find out I have very poor hand-eye coordination. Now, as for the guitar, we'll come to find out I have very poor hand-eye coordination. I could play the notes, but I couldn't make them sound like music. It was very frustrating. I gave up trying after a while. I just tinkered with the guitar every now and then and focused more on my writing. Now fast forward to that day in 1986. I just turned 18. Now fast forward to that day in 1986. I just turned 18. It started out as a normal Saturday. I woke up, got dressed in my usual attire, torn jeans, a heavy metal t-shirt, I believe it was a suicidal tendency shirt, that old jean jacket that I mentioned earlier. I walked to the kitchen, poured a cup of coffee, drank it, and then poured another one and sat at the dining room. I walked to the kitchen, poured a cup of coffee, drank it, then poured another one and sat at the dining room table talking to my mom. Dad had already left for work. We talked for a while. I walked to the kitchen, poured up a cup of coffee, drank it, then poured another one and sat at the dining room table talking to my mom. Dad has already left for work. We talked for a while. I finished my coffee, then I decided to head over to the mall and pick up the latest Metallica album. I arrived at the mall and headed straight for FYE, the mall's only music store. Now after 2 cups of coffee, I suddenly got the urge to pee. Anyone who drinks coffee knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, I turned left and headed for the food court, as that was their bathroom. Anyway, I turned left and headed for the food court, as that was where the bathrooms were located. I made it in the nick of time. I walked in the bathroom, the lights flickered once or twice, I thought nothing of it, and proceeded inside. It was completely empty. And smelled like bleach. So there I was, at the urinal in my attire, doing my business, when suddenly from behind me I heard a cold, raspy voice say, "Would you?" This struck me as odd because I didn't hear anyone come in. I finished my business, zipped up my pants, and as I turned around I said in a cocky tone, "Would I what?" Judging from what I saw, I stood there, frozen in place, face to face with the oddest looking old man that I had ever seen. He was tall and skinny, He had big, bulging dark eyes, sunken cheekbones, with dry, chapped lips. He was as pale as a ghost. His hands were all wrinkled up, with age spots covering about 80% of them. He looked like death warmed over. He wore an all-white three-piece suit, complete with a hat on top, and snakeskin boots, just like Ricky's guitar. He stood with the cane with what appeared to be a goat's head on it. In retrospect, I should have known, but I was young and stupid back then. He opened his mouth to speak, pieces of dry skin falling from his lips as he said, "Sell your soul for rock and roll, would you?" Not me being the young cocky dumbass that I was, screamed out, "Hell yeah, old man, rock and roll." That's where I fucked up. The old man that smiled, I nearly shit myself when I saw his teeth. They weren't teeth at all. They looked like sharp, pointed little razors where his teeth should have been. He then raised his arms towards the ceiling, dropping his cane, and brought them down swiftly, looking me straight in the eye as he whispered one word, "Deal." That creepy smile still plastered on his face. My eyes became heavy, my body became lethargic, and everything went black.